Hi, this is Ron Cowie from Oyster Farm Productions. And it's a Monday, and I wanted to kind of talk with you about a couple of things because a lot of the thing, I'm going to start over. No, I'm not. Um, this this vlog or whatever is about starting again. And I know when I get a project or I kind of wake up in the morning, it's always I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and that can spiral into doing nothing because I'm always second guessing what I'm supposed to be doing. And and I don't think that's an unusual place to be or feeling. A lot of people do that. But what I've noticed that the people who I really admire are the ones who don't necessarily act on that fear, which is to say that they might not know what to do, but they're just doing something. And for the most part, that's better than doing nothing. Do something. And so just start is a great piece of advice that I got from an artist who was actually a graduation speaker at the School and Museum of Fine Arts. And he said, I just have one sign in my studio that just says just start. And it's like if you just make that first brush stroke, type that first word, but make the first picture, shoot a little bit of video, um, that you don't have to suffer the blank page syndrome, as it were. And so I just wanted to kind of share that experience, but also just give you some tips like the default to action. What does that look like? It means that if you are kind of thinking about doing something, and I hear that a lot, oh, we're thinking about, making a video about something. Well, write up a plan, default to action, do something. Because a lot of times, a great way to procrastinate is you say, want to shoot a video. You can sit there and shut your eyes and you can imagine everything that goes into making that video. And you can even probably see the final product just the way you want it to be. And then there's no incentive to actually do it because you've experienced the reward, or your brain has kind of created this reward system for thinking about it. And it's like, yeah, that's done. And it just, when you start taking the steps to do it, and it takes a lot longer than the way you thought it would be, the interest kind of runs out. Um, and so, it's easy to do. Another thing that is really natural and completely unhelpful, I think, is worrying about what people are going to think. I see that a lot. I experience that a lot. I think that's my number one concern. Is what are people going to think? What is, what is, am I going to be cast out? I mean, I'm not doing anything super controversial or anything like that, but it's just, when you make something and you kind of share something, especially if it's close to your heart, it makes you vulnerable. And I think that that's a lot of social media, a lot of content that gets put out falls into the category of crap, you know, because a lot of it is just overthought, overwrought, and doesn't really communicate much except kind of it has a nice sizzle, but there isn't a whole lot of meat to it. If I can use a carnivorous term. So, what helps me is just starting and acknowledge that, yeah, I'm worried about what people are going to think, because I always think that I'm not going to do very well. I'm going to fail. Um, it's easier and much more comfortable to be a consistent failure than actually successful. Because when you succeed, all of a sudden you might have to live up to the expectations that you've set for yourself, which usually in my case are completely unrealistic. But if I'm working towards them, I can't let myself off the hook. And so, starting the process, it means I kind of have to wade through a lot of self-centered fears. Now, a way to do that is by asking for help, and not assuming that I have to do everything by myself. And that has saved me a lot of heartache. In fact, I prefer collaborating now. That's why Alex and I work together, because we both kind of realized early on in the business that there were things that we really liked to do that the other one didn't like to do. And we can kind of we brought our strengths to the table, and we work a lot better together. And part of that is because I have total trust in him. I trust his vision. I trust his input. We don't always agree, but we have a way of communicating that kind of respects each other. And if we don't agree on something, we usually find something in the middle, or it's deferring to the other person, for the big picture stuff. But we've never really had a huge conflict at all, and for this, I'm very grateful. Um, Now, another thing about starting a project is setting reasonable short-term goals. Like the example I'll give that has nothing to do with video production is I want to start running marathons next year. And the reason why is because I used to do that, and not very well, mind you. Um, but I did it, and I really liked that process. And what happened is I had a bookshelf fall on my Achilles tendon, one that kind of looks like this one right back here, only it didn't have any books in it. And it I was injured and I couldn't do anything for a while. And I tried running late in 2019, and or early 2019, like January 2019, and it kind of tore my Achilles heel, and I couldn't walk on it very well. And so I spent most of last year and half of this year slowly getting out of shape, or being out of shape, I should say, and gaining weight. And I was like, this stinks. And so when my wife and I went to Wakefield Running to buy a new pair of shoes, because I was like, all right, that's it. I need to do something. I really don't want, I'm 50 years old. I don't want to kind of wither away. I can feel myself getting, you know, weaker. And the guy who sold me the pair of shoes, and I told him my sob story, he said, "Start by walking. Like, really, just you can walk, can't you?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, here you just walk." And it's kind of like dawn breaks on Marblehead. I was I just, well, I can walk, and to be honest, I don't like running in the summer because it's hot and I get overheated, and quite honestly, I wasn't going to be able to run. So but I can walk, and I've been walking about 4.5 miles every other day. That's a good, if I can do that, I feel pretty good. um and I've noticed that my legs are getting stronger, and I noticed that they are definitely weak. They're not where they need to be if I want to run any long distance or even a short distance safely. Um, so I'm in that process, and my goal is just walk about 60 miles a month, which is, what is that? It's 5 miles, 15 miles a week, or so. I mean, if I can walk over 60 miles a month, I'll be doing pretty well until, say, December or whatever. And my goal would be to run a 5K by then, and I think I'll be able to do that. And then I can start moving into longer distance running and pacing myself. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm not saying I'm going to run a marathon in November. It's not feasible, and I would get hurt. So, and I signed up for a Noom, um, because a lot of the issues that I have, it's not just running, it's diet and exercise. I mean, they say that, and once again, dawn breaks on Marblehead. The idea that what I put into my body and the amount of exertion that I put out usually isn't. I eat way more than I need to in order to do the things that I really want to do. And my doctor um, kind of turned me onto that, and she just said, you can't train yourself skinny. It's like, yeah, it's true. So I have to look at the relationship I have with food, which isn't necessarily toxic, but it's definitely, like everyone, there are issues there, eating when I'm bored and eating food that is high in calories. That's not necessarily, right before I go to bed. So, I'm asking for it. Now, the other thing about starting is usually, the biggest goal isn't the small goal. It's, I want to run marathons. And then there's the I have to break that down, but set a large, hard to reach long-term goal. If you want to have a portfolio of your work seen in a gallery, you have to start talking to people. It's breaking that stuff down, but you kind of have to have a big super why, if you will. What do you want to do? If you want to learn how to use a camera, that's great. Learn how to use a camera, and then take 10 pictures that you like, and then start building from there. But having something larger is a good goal, and be willing to accept change in the journey. Like, I remember when I was in photo school, I wanted to be I wanted to be a very well-known artist and all that stuff. And I suppose there's still time, but it's not nearly as important. I mean, it's just grandiose. I mean, that's really what it was. It was me kind of taking my low self-esteem and kind of wanting all the fame without any of the work. But I love photography. And what happened is I love photography, and I say, I want to be the best printer that I can be. I want to be known for my skills making stuff. And that I could do, and that was a lot of work, but it was fun because I love doing it. And every print I made, I got a little bit better. And I worked for a photographer who they said, the mistakes that they made makes them better photographers, because they learn from them. And so, I had that plan, and also life gets in the way. Like, if you have such a rigid plan that you can't allow for life to happen within it, you're going to be miserable. And you're just it's good. It's a self-defeating proposition. It would be like if I wanted to run the marathon in November, if they're even having marathons in November. I doubt they are. Um, and I'm walking, and I figure, well, I'll just start running long distances in August or whatever. You know, I'm gonna get hurt. I am not going to finish that. And then when I'm at mile 6 with a blown out Achilles tendon, hating myself because I just didn't, I can't do it. I'm a failure. It's like, well, I kind of set myself up for that. And, you reap what you sow. So, but with projects and stuff, it's like it's important, when I'm doing something, when I'm working on something, when I'm just starting, to share the credit as often as possible. Share the burden, ask for help, but also share the credit. I really don't have a whole lot of time for people to say, this is all me. I did this, and it's I don't know anyone or anything that has made a worthwhile contribution to society or art and culture that didn't do it in collaboration with either individuals, organizations, or the community at large. And so, ultimately, the process of starting is to connect yourself with the community. And finally, thinking about that is helping other people to succeed. Each project should connect you to the greater good, and it should help other people to succeed. Because when you ask for help, you put yourself into a position to offer help, later on. And, I think with practice, it's not like deciding to do something that really is meaningful and impactful for you ever gets easy, because we're all human and we're scared. We have a brain that is kind of defaulting to, oh, what will people think? Because that's that's how we do it. But it's not that can be overcome. And I think that's the idea of, like, okay, I want to do something, and you break it down into bite-sized parts, and then you share credit, you connect with people, and you do it over and over again. And after a while it gets a little bit easier, or that initial kind of hesitation gets shorter and shorter. And I found that when I started walking, the first time, I was like, okay, I can do this. This is doable. And but I spent about 3 years procrastinating, wanting and saying, well, if I can't run, I can't do anything. And so, which is ridiculous. And 30 pounds later, it's like, all right, well, that's where my best thinking got me. Um, so with that, I hope you have a great day. It's Monday in the world, and look forward to hearing from you. And subscribe to our channel if you please. It really helps a lot. We're putting stuff out that we're really proud of and kinda helps people connect with things, and it's all about Rhode Island, and so there's that. Thank you very much. Have a great day.